These are not the same Astros that we're used to seeing. The Houston Astros went through a major rebuild, winning less than 60 games each year from 2011 to 2013. But this laid the groundwork for one of the best teams in baseball to come together. From 2015 to 2022, Houston had a record of 711, so we all get a free Slurpee, and 483, a 59.55% winning percentage. They won over 100 games 4 times, made the playoffs 7 out of 8 years, won 5 division crowns, made 4 World Series, and won 2 of them in 2017 and last year in 2022. Now, we all obviously know what else was going on in Houston with the whole sign stealing thing and all that, but this video's not about that. Today, we just want to talk about what happened on the field. And just based off that, the Astros had one of the most dominant stretches that we've seen here recently. But this starts to beg the question then, how much longer can they keep this up? It's the circle of life in sports. Your team sucks for a bit, but then you get some good young players because of that, and then hopefully some of them can turn into superstars that you can build your team around, and then you get to be competitive until those guys get old, and if you haven't found new young guys to take over, then you suck again for a bit, and then the whole thing just starts over again. Now, the Astros this season are still a good ball club. They're currently 77-59, tied for first in the AL West and the second wildcard spot with the Seattle Mariners. But there are some signs that this Astros team isn't quite as strong as they've been before. So we're gonna look at the Astros during their run of dominance from 2015 through 2022 and compare them to this season and answer the questions: what are they still doing really well? What part of their game isn't as strong as it's been? And then most importantly, what does this mean for this team going forward? And are they still gonna be as dominant as they have been? And as we get into that, please go ahead and like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications to make sure that you get to see more baseball content just like this video. So we're gonna start with what stayed the same here for the Astros. And while they may not still be the best in the league, this offense has still been one of the better and most well-rounded in MLB. From 2015 through 2022, the Astros had arguably the best lineup in baseball, ranking second in runs scored, third in average and on-base percentage, and first in slugging, OPS, WRC+, and F4 for position players. Now this season, those numbers have dipped a little bit, but this is still a top 5 to top 10 at worst offense. 5th in runs, 8th in average, 7th in on-base percentage, 8th again in slugging and OPS, and 5th again in WRC+ and position player F4. All around, this offense has just been really good. It's clearly been the strength of the Astros to find and develop good hitters. And I don't just mean guys with good swings. They find guys who are professional hitters. I would argue that having a great approach at the plate is one of, if not the most important parts of hitting, because having the understanding of the strike zone, the pitch recognition, and the self-awareness and discipline to know what pitches you in particular should be swinging at and which ones you should let go puts you in the best position possible to use your swing to the best of your abilities. Before this season, Freddie Freeman was asked about his approach to hitting, and he said, quote, "You can tinker a swing path, this and that, but if you don't have an approach at the plate, your swing could be the best swing in the world, but you don't have an approach," end quote. He talked about his mentality of shortening up with 2 strikes, focusing on putting the ball in play to force the defense to get him out, trying to hit the ball to the opposite field gap, and just sticking to your plan as a hitter no matter what. Look, there are just pitches that no matter how good your swing is, you're not gonna do a whole lot with it, even if you do hit it. I'll guarantee you, no matter how good you are, most of the time you're not gonna hit that breaking ball diving down and away from you out of the zone very well, even though I can already see the 450 dead center comments coming in. But especially if it's a ball, you should just let it go anyways. Get a better pitch to hit later in the at-bat. So until you have 2 strikes, you should only be swinging at the type of pitch that you want to hit in the place you want to hit it. And then you end up defending the strike zone once you get 2 strikes so that you don't strike out. But only the strike zone. Don't expand and help the pitcher out. And when it comes to a good approach at the plate, the Astros take some of the best at-bats in all of Major League Baseball, both from 2015 to 2022, where they were second in walk-to-strikeout ratio, a big part of why they were barely whiffing, especially in the zone, where they were third in contact percentage on pitches in the zone, and leading them to the best strikeout percentage in baseball. and then this season, where they're third in walk to strikeout ratio, fourth in zone contact percentage, and third in strikeout percentage. The more patient and disciplined a hitter is by only going after pitches early in the count that he wants to swing at, the easier he makes it for himself to make contact when he does swing, because he's not reacting as much to whatever the pitcher's throwing him. He's mostly swinging at the pitch that he's looking for and timed up to hit. And when you're timed up and ready for that one pitch that you're looking for, you tend to get pretty good results when you hit it. And we've seen over the years, the Astros were 4th in home runs and they're 9th again this year. But there has been a bit of a crack in the armor here. While they've still been able to hit quite a few homers this season, it's not because the Astros can still bang it like they used to. Oh my god, I just realized that. Pun fully intended. They dropped from 7th in exit velo during their run to 22nd this year, and from 7th in hard contact percentage to 21st. We know that when you hit the ball hard, good things generally happen. So this drop off in the amount of pop that we're seeing out of the Astros bats doesn't look good. And this could be for one of two reasons. The first is that we've seen the Astros get way more aggressive at the plate this year, going from 8th in MLB in chase percentage between 2015 and 2022 down to 18th this season, and their swing percentage went from the 6th lowest to the 11th highest this year. And like I talked about earlier with being disciplined at the plate, the more aggressive you are, the harder you can make it on yourself by having to react more to whatever the pitcher's throwing you instead of getting your pitch to hit. And especially if you're swinging more on pitches out of the zone, you're probably going to have a tougher time making good contact consistently. So either the Astros have been a bit overly aggressive here and had a tougher time squaring up harder pitches to hit, or it's simply that the Astros haven't had the same firepower in their lineup consistently this year. See, during most of their run from 2015 to 2022, the Astros had at least 4 bona fide sluggers in their lineup at a time, with 8-time All-Star and 2017 MVP Jose Altuve and 2-time All-Star Alex Bregman being there throughout most of this time. They were paired with 2015 Rookie of the Year and 2-time All-Star Carlos Correa and George Springer, a 3-time All-Star in Houston, who were basically replaced by Kyle Tucker and Yordan Alvarez, who are also both 2-time All-Stars, along with Alvarez finishing 3rd in MVP voting last year, with Michael Brantley coming over in 2019 too, and being a big part through 2021, then contributing what he could through injuries the last 2 seasons. But in 2023, the Astros have only had Kyle Tucker and Alex Bregman playing all season. Chas McCormick, who's really breaking out this year, has missed a little bit of time, along with Yordan Alvarez missing time with an oblique injury, and Jose Altuve has missed about half the season with a thumb and oblique injury himself. So while they've had 3 of their sluggers miss time this season, this does look like, though, if they can get all these guys healthy together, like they are right now, this lineup could have some serious firepower in it. And as good as the Astros hitting has been over the years, their starting pitching was always right up there too, at the top of the league. From 2015 to 2022, the Astros rotation pitched the 2nd most innings in baseball, with the 2nd best ERA and ranked 3rd in FIP, SIERA, and FWAR. But this is the part of the video where we get to what's changed for the Astros, and not in a good way. This season, they've still gotten a ton of innings out of the rotation, the most in baseball, in fact, but their ERA is 10th in the league, their FIP is 15th, SIERA 17th, and they're 10th in FWAR. So what's changed here to lead to this kind of drop-off? Because the Astros just haven't gotten the same kind of production out of their rotation this season, and mainly you can point to the fact that they haven't had that bona fide ace at the top of the rotation like they have before, because the kind of arms they've had leading this group over the years is pretty wild. First, they had Dallas Keuchel, who kicked all this off in 2015 with his first of 2 All-Star teams and won the Cy Young Award that year, 750 1/3 innings in 116 starts with a 3.37 ERA, 3.51 FIP, and 3.57 SIERA from 2015 to 2018 with Houston. Keuchel never had that crazy stuff that got him a ton of strikeouts, but he went right at hitters and got a ton of ground balls, keeping the ball in the ballpark. But then the Astros kicked it up a notch, acquiring Justin Verlander in 2017 in a trade with Detroit, who had already made 6 All-Star teams and won a Cy Young at this point. And then in Houston, he'd only earn 3 more All-Star nods and win 2 more Cy Youngs. Verlander from 2017 to 2022 in an Astros uniform made 102 starts, going 652 innings with a 2.26 ERA, 2.89 FIP, and 2.85 SIERA. Absolutely dominating the strike zone and just one of the best pitchers all around during this time. And then we get to 2018, where the Astros traded for Garrett Cole from the Pirates, and after showing him what Spider Tack was, they completely unlocked the former #1 pick's potential. In his 2 All-Star seasons with Houston, Cole went 412 and 2/3 innings in 65 starts with a 2.68 ERA, 2.67 FIP, and 2.75 SIERA. Cole absolutely racks up strikeouts, making it really tough to get very many hits off of him. And this brings us to what's really been missing with this rotation, especially without that true ace to turn to, and that's having guys that have that real high strikeout, swing and miss kind of stuff. At their peak from 2015 to 2022, Astros starters were 3rd in strikeout percentage, 5th in contact percentage, and 7th in contact percentage in the zone. They had the kind of stuff that just kept hitters up at night. They got a lot of swings and misses, especially in the zone, so they could really attack lineups. But this season, we haven't seen the same kind of stuff out of the Astros rotation. They've been 18th in strikeout percentage, just not able to get the same kind of whiffs as before, down to 14th in contact percentage and 19th on contact percentage in the zone. Both Cole and Verlander, along with Charlie Morton, Christian Javier, Lance McCullers Jr., Luis Garcia, and Brad Peacock all gave the Astros at least 200 innings with the strikeout percentage over 25% and an ERA under 4 during their dominant run, with Cole and Verlander both going over a 30% strikeout rate and ERAs under 3. But the Astros just don't have this kind of guy anymore. Framber Valdez has the lowest ERA and FIP in this rotation, but his 24.2% strikeout rate is only 26th out of 52 qualified starting pitchers this season. Hunter Brown has flashed high strikeout stuff in his first full season, but he's still figuring things out a bit here at the major league level. Garcia and McCullers are both out for the season with injuries, and then they reacquired the 40-year-old Verlander at the deadline this year, but it's looking like age is finally catching up to him after winning the Cy Young just last season. But this isn't just about having that one guy that you can give the ball to and expect to go dominate a lineup every 5 days. High strikeout pitchers generally give up weaker contact and less hits, because when you're really good at missing bats entirely, you're probably not getting barreled up too often. And this is where the Astros rotation has gotten absolutely killed by this. Since these guys aren't as good at getting hitters to miss, hitters have done a much better job not just of making contact, but squaring these guys up. The Astros had the lowest hard contact percentage in baseball from 2015 to 2022. They were 4th in barrel percentage and had the 5th lowest exit velo. But this year, this rotation isn't just struggling with missing bats entirely, they haven't even been able to miss barrels. 24th in hard contact percentage, 27th in barrel percentage, and 24th in exit velo. Strikeouts are the best thing that a pitcher can do. It's a 100% sure out that doesn't give base runners a chance to move up unless obviously something crazy happens. But you don't have to just be a strikeout pitcher. If you're gonna have more balls get put in play against you, then you wanna make your defense's job as easy as possible. If you're gonna pitch more to contact, then you can't just be serving up batting practice. You have to hit your spots more and really influence a lot of weaker contact from hitters. And whether or not the Astros starters will be able to fix this is gonna be the big question going forward. And this brings us to that final question. What does all this mean for this team going forward? Well, first we can talk about the offense. Again, this seems to be something the Astros are just really good at, identifying good hitters that take great at-bats. You do have Jose Altuve and Alex Bregman, who will both be in the last year of their contracts next season. That'll be Altuve's age 34 season and Bregman's age 30, but then you have Alvarez at 26 years old, who signed through 2028 at just over 19 million AAV, and Kyle Tucker is also 26 and isn't set for free agency until 2026. The problem for this offense going forward is just going to be having to replace some of these guys as they either get too old or too expensive. But the Astros have done a pretty good job for a while now at identifying good hitters and plugging in new pieces as guys leave. I mean, until Jose Abreu this year, but they filled Correa and Springer spots before. It's just going to be tougher for them to do this now since they can't get a guy as a replacement like Kyle Tucker with the 5th overall pick when you keep making the playoffs. But now for the rotation. We can start with Verlander, who the Mets are paying a good amount of the money still owed to him, and he's going to be a great clubhouse presence for those younger pitchers. So even if he's not the same Cy Young caliber guy, you just have to hope that he's got enough left in the tank before Father Time just takes him out for good. Then they have Lance McCullers Jr. signed through 2026 and Christian Javier signed through 2027. Both have been pretty good starters for them, but McCullers has only made 8 starts since last year, and Javier is having a down year right now. So you have to hope that both of these guys can kind of bounce back. And we already talked about Framber Valdez, so unless he can just start missing more bats here, the final piece of this is really Hunter Brown, the Astros' number 3 prospect at the end of last season, and how much he's going to be able to develop into that real frontline starter. Like I said earlier, he's flashed some pretty good stuff. He gets a lot of strikeouts and ground balls. For him, it's going to come down to some of the finer details of pitching, really hitting his spots, living on the edge of the zone, and getting ahead of hitters so that he's not putting himself in as many positions where guys are able to get a pitch that they can handle from him. Without any top 100 prospects on MLB.com's list right now, it doesn't look like there's a lot of reinforcements on the way, so the Astros are going to want to focus on restocking their farm with as many talented arms as they can, but in the meantime, they might have to look at signing a top guy in free agency if they're looking to really get that true number 1 back at the top of the rotation. The Astros have been near the top of Major League Baseball since 2015. But sometimes it can be harder to stay at the top than it is to get there. Houston has had an incredible run over the last 8 years, but just like everybody else, their time will come when this team isn't at their peak anymore, and it looks like we might already start seeing the cracks in the armor. So now let me know what you think about all this. Are the Astros still as good as they've been? And if not, what are you seeing them start to struggle with? Comment all your thoughts down below. Also, please go ahead and like the video if you made it this far, subscribe to the page and turn on notifications. It helps the channel out a bunch, but more importantly, you get to see more baseball content like this every time we drop a new video. If you want to support the channel, the link to our merch store is down in the description, or you can check out our most recent video that's on your screen now about the real reasons why the San Diego Padres collapsed this year. And as always, thank you so much for watching and have an awesome day. Later.